This video is about the Circle Constructions performance task. The most important thing you need to understand about the Circle Constructions performance task is that there are two parts to it, Part 1 and Part 2. Do not just submit one of the parts. I need them both. Alright, let's talk about Part 1. Let me show you where to find the document for Part 1. Alright, first of all, the performance task itself shows up in this section of the course called Circles and Volume Part 1. At the end of that unit, just before the unit test, is where the performance task shows up. So there are two documents, Part 1 and Part 2. The Part 1 document is located right here, where it says preparing for your performance task. Right at the beginning, when you click on this link, this is where you will find Part 1. Part 2 is located right here in the section called Performance Task. This is where you will find Part 2. So you're going to need to get both of these documents. So let's click Preparing for your performance task. See what happens. Okay, so you get this little screen, and notice right here it says click here to download the student guide. This will be the Part 1 document that you need. Everybody's computer is a little bit different, but this pops up when I click it. I can just click open, and then we'll take a look at it. This is what the Part 1 document looks like. Notice it says Part 1 right there. And here's where you will cut and paste your constructions that you do. Alright, images should go here. I'll come back and explain more about that in a minute. For now, let's skip to Part 2 and let's see where that is and what it looks like. So as I mentioned, the Part 2 document is located in the next section that's called Performance Task. So let's see, can I just jump over here? Let's see, so right here it says Performance Task. Click on this, and this little guy pops up and it says Student Guide. Notice this is just Part 2. Part 1 is what I already showed you. So I'm going to click on this and open it up and see what happens. Again, I'm just going to click open. I'm going to open this document. Okay, and here's Part 2. Notice it says Part 2 right here. So you should be submitting both of these documents, and here's what it looks like, little picture of a compass and a straight edge. And in Part 2 is not about cutting and pasting images. Part 2 is about answering questions like in words and sentences. Alright, now that you know where to find the documents, let me go back to Part 1 and explain a little bit more about how to do Part 1. Alright, this is the part where you're supposed to do these 6 constructions with a compass and a straight edge. Now, there are two ways that you're allowed to do this. You have a choice. Plan A. Plan A is you could do the constructions on a computer and insert screenshots into this document. Alright, that would be ideal. Notice you have to have a computer. Alright, there's no way for you to do this strictly on your phone. Plan B is less ideal, but if you don't have a computer, then this is what you have to do. You can print this document out on a printer, which still sort of requires a computer, but you could have your mom do that at work, or go to the library and print it out, or whatever you need to do, just to print out the document. And then you can do the constructions on the paper using a real compass and a straight edge. Alright, this is a compass, this is a straight edge. And I guess I need a step 3 here, because then you would take pictures of the completed document and email them to me. What you cannot do is take out a loose leaf sheet of paper and write a bunch of stuff down by hand. That is not acceptable. doing your document like this and submitting this to me is not acceptable. This will be worth 0 points. Alright, let's go back to plan A and let me just briefly show you probably the best way for you to successfully and accurately get the screenshots you need and do the constructions that you're supposed to do. There are 6 of them. Okay, so right now we are talking about part 1. So I already told you that this is where you get the document from, right at the beginning of the section called Preparing for Your Performance Task. So to be clear, this is the section where your screenshots are going to come from. Screenshots come from this same section. However, the instruction is where you learn how to do it. Let's take a quick look at instruction.
Our lesson question is, how do you perform?
Alright, this helpful guy pops up telling you how to do stuff. I'm going to skip ahead, of course. Okay, so still on part 1 here. Your first construction is you're supposed to construct a circle through 3 points, not on a line. So, let's look for that. Alright, I'm just going to skip to the next little video here. Oh look, constructing a circle through 3 points not on a line.
I'm going to show you how to construct a circle through 3 points that are not on a line.
Yeah, that's what I just said. So if I kept playing this video, he would walk you through step by step showing you exactly what to do. Later, when it's your turn to do it by yourself, a good thing to do would be to come back and watch this video right before you do it by yourself. Alright, let's jump ahead to the preparing for your performance task part. This is where the screenshots happen. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Constructing a circle through 3 points not on a line. So this is where you're supposed to actually do the activity and make it happen and take a screenshot. Now I think it would be a good idea to go back and open up a window of this guy explaining how to do it. And then at the same time, in another window, you're getting ready to do it by yourself. So you can have both of these windows open at once. So you can hit play on the video,
Check out the screen, you can see points A, B, and C.
watch him do it
They're not on a
step
line.
by step. You know, watch him do it. And then every time he does a step, you can jump over here and do the same thing yourself. Whatever it is you're supposed to do, you're over here doing it, man. You're loving life. And then, you know, I'm not actually doing it because you have to do it yourself. But you don't have to do it by yourself. Use the instruction from the instruction part and jump back, watch him do it, and then jump over and do it yourself. So then you take a screenshot. So everybody's computer is different. On most people's computer, you can just hit the print screen button to take a screenshot. I like to use the snipping tool, and which I have a shortcut here. If you type in snipping, S-N-I-P-P, alright, if you type in, I put 3 P's. If you type in snipping, the snipping tool will probably show up if you have a Windows computer. Okay, and then now here's the snipping tool. So I hit new, and now I can draw a rectangle around this. And again, this is not the right picture because I didn't actually do it, but pretend that it is. Now this image is in memory, so I can come over to my document, and if I'm going to hit Control V and paste this picture. So now, construct a circle through 3 points not a line, and now I have an image of it. So basically you do that 6 times for each one of these activities. Alright, so that's how part 1 works. Now let's talk about how part 2 works. In part 2, you're not doing screenshots, you're just writing sentences and answering questions. So let me spend 1 minute talking about part 2. Now, so here's part 2. So look, here's the first question, for example. They're describing a situation. It's referring to constructing a circle through 3 points not on a line. Now we already did that construction in part 1, so we don't need to do that again. We just need to answer a question about it. They're describing how you construct a circle by making these perpendicular bisectors and finding the point of intersection. And then they're asking you the question, how do you know that point O is the center of the circle that goes through the 3 points? So you're supposed to write some sentences about this. Now again, it is all about the instruction. This guy right here is going to answer these questions for you. You're not going to remember because you did a bunch of stuff, all right, and you don't have a photographic memory. So when it's time to answer these questions in part 2, you're going to want to go back to the instructional video again and search for the answer. All right, so I'm going to skip to the next slide. And sure enough, this is where he justifies the construction that you just did. He's talking about the perpendicular bisectors and how they are equidistant from the vertices of this triangle. It's called the circumcenter. So this is the answer to the question. So when you go to write your sentences, you will use a lot of his words and talk about the perpendicular bisectors and how they're equidistant from the vertices, etc., etc. And I think you'll find in most cases, so this is about constructing an equilateral triangle or a regular hexagon. All right, and they're asking you a question about that. All right, let's go back to the instruction and check it out. I'm going to skip through. All right, skipping through. Oh, look, constructing an equilateral triangle. All right, and here's where he shows you how to do it, but I'm betting later he's going to justify it. So let me keep going. Oh, look, right here, justifying the construction. Somewhere in these words, okay, and you might have to play the actual video and see what he says. But this is going to contain the answer that you're looking for as they're asking you this question about explaining why triangle PQR is an equilateral triangle. Well, look, that's what he's explaining right here. So what I'm trying to get you to understand is you have to go back to the instruction. Don't think you're going to sit there doing part 2 of this document and you're just going to be able to answer it from memory. I don't think so. You're going for the most of us, you're going to need to go back to this guy, find the place where he's talking about it, and get your answers that way. Now for part 2, you can just type your answers, right onto the document. Just write down your answers, your paragraphs for each one of these, and save that to your computer and submit that back to me through the Edgenuity system. Or if you have trouble figuring that out, you can just email me the documents. Now again, if you've been trying to do this whole program on your phone, so you may not be able to type this in on the document like everybody else. Again, you're not allowed to just go to loose leaf paper and write your answers down. But what you can do is print out the document, email it to somebody that has a printer or whatever. You can print out the document on a printer, and then you can write your answers on that document and take a picture of it and either submit it through the Edgenuity software or you can email it to me. Alright, that's really going to do it for this tutorial video. Just one more time, let me emphasize to you the most important thing. There are 2 parts to this activity, part 1 and part 2. They each have their own separate document, and I need them both. Do not just submit part 1, do not just submit part 2. Give me them both at the same time.